welcome back to lesson number 7. Well, I hope you had a ball examining the position on the board. In this second part, part B, we're going to compare your answers to my explanation of the position. Okay, let's get to work. We'll start with the tactical breakdown, which is one of the things that I asked you to do. We'll look at attacks and defenses, tasks and functions of pieces, tactical motifs, etc. Okay, here we go. Well, it is White's move, and we notice that he has this capture, for instance. The bishop can take the knight. Also, this knight can take this bishop. Furthermore, we see that this knight can take this knight, and we also see that this bishop can take this knight. They're all important captures, I would say. Then, of course, there's one less important capture. That's the one of the queen taking the pawn here on g6. Maybe, just maybe, there would be some circumstances where the queen could sacrifice itself, but at the moment that just looks silly, right? Okay, well, that's as far as attacks is concerned. Now, it makes sense to see if black is defending himself at the same time. Well, this guy here is protected by the bishop on e7, right? This knight here is protected by the pawn, the bishop, and the knight. No, not that knight. This knight here. Okay. This bishop is defended 3 times by the rook, the pawn, and the queen. So for the moment, it really seems that black is very solid, and that he would be able to answer all the captures by white in a decent way. Okay, so, but maybe we also saw some tactical motifs apart from attacks and defenses here. Maybe you have noticed that both queen and rook are in a knight fork distance. If this knight can appear on the d7 square and fork both rook and queen, then maybe white can win the exchange, which would be a positive material imbalance for him, right? Okay. But for the moment, this d7 square is protected by the bishop and the knight. But, okay, the bishop and the knight were also involved in defending this knight on d5. Is it possible that maybe they're getting overworked in some kind of variation? Okay, that's important information. Let's keep that in the back of our mind. Well, I guess that's not where it stops, because we also see a proper pin here over this diagonal. This bishop is pinning this knight to the bishop on e7, which means that the knight from f6 can't really go. Well, maybe for the moment it can go, because this knight is still protecting that bishop on e7, right? But what happens if we take out this knight? I mean, what does that mean for the defense of this bishop here on e7? Right? And wasn't it very easy for white to try and take out this knight here on d5? Well, I guess so. We can try to do that in 2 different ways. Okay, that's another important bit of information to keep in the back of our mind. And still it doesn't stop, because I also notice that black has played g7, g6 here. Now that does not really weaken his pawn position, because that one still looks pretty solid here. No, it rather weakens the black squares around his king, right? And on one of these black squares is sitting the knight on f6. So this guy is also maybe sometimes deprived of a very important defender that was sitting here on g7 and has moved forward to g6. Okay, now let's imagine a white queen appearing here on f3, adding to the pressure of the knight on f6. Wouldn't that be nice? I guess so. Let's also imagine that white makes use of the black squared weakness in playing bishop h6 at some moment. That move would attack the rook, right? Threaten to win the exchange, so it would be a very forcing move, because